of these questions has come through from Summer, and it's how do I overcome feeling like a victim all the time? Today, I'm going to share with you the 8 steps that I took and I regularly revisit on how to stop being a victim in your own life and live the life that you want. I'd like to preface this that though I'm speaking with a smug air of confidence as if I have the entire world figured out, I in fact don't know shit. I do very much still have things that I struggle with. Hello, perfectionism and analysis paralysis. I did go from being miserable all of the time to having more good days than bad days. I don't know if that counts for anything, but you know what they say if you have too many good days in a row, right? You might just mess around and have a good life. Either way, since you're here, I'm going to be sharing with you just the checkpoints to make sure that I am not victimizing myself, which is just a fancy way of saying, what am I doing that is adding unnecessary suffering to my life? Before we get started, class, I'm going to present you with a list of symptoms that will help clue you in to what a victim mindset is and if you might be in it. If in the past 12 months you have said any of these phrases, I can't catch a break, I'm such a good person, why does this happen to me? Why does this type of stuff always happen to me? It's always something. People are so mean to me and I don't know why I'm such a good person. People always use me or take advantage of me because I'm an empath. It's like the entire world is against me or just wants me to fail. I can't trust anyone, so I just won't talk to anyone. I just keep to myself. Everyone I know does me dirty, so I just can't. After all I've done for this person, they should at least be able to. Any of these phrases sound familiar, you might be victimizing yourself. If it does sound like you, my only question before continuing this video, are you tired of that yet? Are you bored with it? Are you tired of saying those things? Are you tired of feeling that way? Are you tired of that yet? I ask this because the only way to change it is you have to be so sick of your own shit that it forces you to start acting like the main character in your own life, which means that you are willing to take the steps to climb out of the hole that you're in, like yesterday, full stop. If you are not tired of your shit, please return to this video at a later time. Today, this video is not for you. Once you are fed up with being unhappy and unfulfilled, go ahead and come on back. We'll be here waiting for you. We have cookies. The reason why this video is not for you, because I'm about to pose some questions to you and your knee-jerk reaction is going to be offended and screech about how nothing in this video is going to work on you because insert specific reason why my brand of victim mentality or victimhood is so much greater than any other brand of victim mentality or victimhood that has ever been bestowed upon a single person because of external factors beyond my control, and there's nothing that can be done about it. To that I say, you are absolutely right. Whether you believe you can overcome it or you believe that you can't, you are absolutely right. I know that you're like, Deja, get into it already. I'm ready. Okay, but before we go any further, I just feel like I have to clear up one last thing because I know how much you girlies like to tussle. A victim mentality can come from many things. Actual abuse, trauma, victimization, all of it. It's not to say that being a victim is a mindset. Like, that's not what we're saying. In case it needs to be said. What I'm telling you in this video is not that your trauma does not matter. It's not that what happened to you doesn't matter, or that you should just stop whining about what has happened to you, or trauma happens everywhere, get over it. That's not what I'm saying. Again, in case it needs to be said. I feel like I always have to say this because there's always one person who latches on what you're saying and chooses to hear what they want to hear. Just to be extra clear here. Me saying, if you have come to the realization that you have a mindset that tends to put you in the position where you are helpless and miserable, and maybe you don't want to do that to yourself anymore, and that you have the power to improve said mindset, if you so choose to aim for that, is not the same as me saying absurd things like victims of rape don't matter, or your trauma is imaginary, or forgive your abuser, just get over it, be friends with the people who hurt you, or anything even close to as horrible as that, in case it needs to be said. Are we clear on that? Clear? Okay, we're good. Okay, where were we? For those of you who are tired of your own shit, welcome to How Not to Be a Victim in Your Own Life 101. Step 1, we already mentioned, be sick of your own shit and have a vision. The only way to make a change, big, small, low-key, dramatic, doesn't matter, is that your vision has to be stronger than your resistance to change. Did you know that there's an actual formula for change? Your dissatisfaction times your vision plus your first steps have to be greater than your resistance or the cost of the change. Change is hard. Once you have a habit, the slightest amount of stress or disturbance, you will default right back into that. That is your safe place. That is what you have to look at habits like. This is my safe place. So if you have a habit that is ruining your life, you are sitting in a safe place that is causing you stress. As soon as you try to change something and the slightest amount of stress comes, you will fall backwards. You've tried it before, you don't listen to yourself, you don't follow your own advice, and you are your own worst critic. If you're deep in the muck, that habit lizard brain part of you is not going to want to go away. It's going to go into self-preservation mode and try and do everything so that it remains an aspect of your life. It's going to fight to maintain the hold that it has over you. Your level of dissatisfaction with your current reality has to be greater than that resistance. That's why your vision of a different life has to be strong enough to fuel you through the habit-breaking lizard brain changes that need to happen. But Deja, I don't have a vision for my life. I'm just trying to make it through the next week. Well, you're in luck, Toots, because I got the vision for you right here. Here is how you get one. And it's important that you get one because you need to aim a little bit bigger. If you are constantly asking the universe for the bare minimum, you cannot be surprised when you only get the bare minimum. You have to ask for more. You have to believe that you are worthy of asking for more.
Mustn't be afraid to dream a little bigger, darling.
If not, you will always get the bare minimum. If you've ever been stuck in a situation where you're like, it seems like I just catch a break and then it's on to the next thing. Probably because you're asking for the bare minimum. Probably because you're moving with the mindset of I'm just trying to make it to tomorrow. And then you make it to tomorrow. And then you realize that you have nothing past tomorrow. Stop just asking to make it to tomorrow. Keep this in mind for this next piece. If you don't have a vision for your life, get a notebook. Not your phone. I don't care that you don't like writing stuff down, or I don't care that you think that your head is so good you just keep it up here. Get a notebook, get a piece of paper. I'm sorry to tell you this, but your vision is worth you stealing a piece of paper from that printer that you haven't used in 2 years, but you refuse to get rid of it because you never know when you might need to print something. And as soon as you get rid of it, you'll be required to print something. And then the gods will laugh in the face of your failure when they realize that you aren't a fully prepared print-ready adult. Yeah, stop playing with me. Take your archaic tools, your pen, your piece of paper, and go and find a quiet place. Ideally, this place is a place where you won't be interrupted or bothered for at least 30 minutes, but take what you can get. Bonus points if you can do it outside in the sunlight. It's just, that 10x's it. Inspiration hits a little bit different when it's fueled by the sunshine. Don't ask me why, but this is the way. Now, I want you to close your eyes and I want you to imagine with me for a sec. I want you to set at least a 5-minute timer on your phone. If you're not used to sitting still and thinking, this will be hard, but doing hard work is necessary for change, and you can do anything for 5 minutes. So I want you to imagine that you are walking up to a window and looking into that window, and you see yourself 5 years into the future. And you notice immediately that this is you. And what you see is that you are the happiest, most fulfilled you have ever been. Where are you living? Are you in a different city? Are you in the same city? Are you in a different country? Are you healthy? Are you in shape? What are your hobbies? What does your house look like? Who are your friends? What do they look like? What type of activities do you guys engage in together? Are you single? Are you married? Something else? What does your partner look like? What do your partners look like? Do you have kids? Do you get along with your kids? Do they behave? Are they good people? How do you dress? How do people treat you? Are you respected? How do you treat other people? Get specific, and you have to write it all down because you need the details. Once you have all of the answers to those questions, think about where you are right now. Then you ask yourself, what is one small step that I could take to move forward or move a step closer to that vision? Don't overthink it. Don't overthink it. Just focus on what would be the next right move to getting closer to that vision. Again, this is going to be hard, especially if you're not used to thinking about things. You might be so far down into victimhood that you can't even see a good, happy, meaningful, fulfilled future. Nothing comes to mind. You're like, I don't even know what that looks like. I don't even know where to begin. That's okay. We still have a starting point. If you can't see a good, happy future clearly just yet, let's try the opposite. So I want you to do the exact same thing. I want you to walk up to this window, and when you look in the window, instead of seeing yourself happy, you see that you are absolutely miserable. You are in your hell. Whatever that version of hell may be for you, that is what you are in. For me, that looks like me never actualizing any of my dreams. I'm out of shape. I don't take care of my body. I treat people around me crappily because I don't feel good about myself. I'm not a good cat mom. I don't have good friends that I can trust. Like, that's my version of hell. What is your version of hell? What is your nightmare fuel? You have to think about what absolutely scares you and what your future would look like if all of your worst fears came true. The things that keep you up at night, if they all came true, what would that future look like? Ask yourself those same questions. Where are you living? How do you spend your time? Who are your friends? What does your day-to-day look like? What type of clothes are you wearing? What type of life are you living? Really take the time to think about this, because if you don't know where you want to go, but you know we're absolutely where you don't want to be, we still have a starting place. And in both situations, we can work backwards from there. Then we can say, what's one thing that I could stop doing, that I could stop, that I would be willing to stop to take me further away from my hell future? If that hell future consists of you in a hospital bed with a stoma in your neck because you're a pack-a-day smoker, we still have a starting place. Maybe it's texting that ex, or maybe it's spending time with that friend who you really don't like spending time with and you don't really trust them all that much. Or maybe it's eating past a certain time even though you know that it makes it harder for you to go to sleep or it breaks your skin out. Maybe it's spending too much money because you're not packing a lunch to go to work, or you're spending too much on drinking and going out with friends. Maybe it's lying to yourself and to other people. It doesn't have to be earth-shattering, change the world tomorrow. It can be small. It can be very, very small. Whatever is the next right move for your life. Step 2, identify necessary versus unnecessary suffering. Step 2 requires that you understand what is the difference between these two. I've got a video coming out on toxic positivity, on the difference between toxically positive and being tragically optimistic, if you want a deeper dive in this. But basically, it's the understanding that life is already hard enough without adding unnecessary suffering on top of it. There are things that you experience in life as a human being that you are going to be unable to escape. So things like sickness or death, pain, loss, failure. Another way to think about them are the unavoidables. But it's really, really important to know that not all suffering is unavoidable. But Deja, how do I know if a type of suffering is unnecessary? Good question. Really easy answer. If the suffering that you're experiencing would be minimized, lessened, or completely stopped if you were to take action or stop taking action, chances are it is unnecessary suffering. You experience the terminal illness of a parent and taking care of them, or you experience a sudden death of someone close to you. Grief, sickness, and death are necessary parts of life. That is necessary suffering. Necessary in this sense does not mean deserved. It's important to know that necessary does not mean deserved. Necessary here means truly inescapable or unavoidable. And they affect everyone. No matter how rich you are, no matter how pretty you are, no matter what actions you take, doesn't matter. On the flip side, if you're having trouble paying your rent because you really wanted to go on vacation and you chose not to budget for this trip that you knew about 6 months in advance, and now you're feeling anxious and stressed out about how you're going to pay your bills or even eat next week because #YOLO, that is unnecessary suffering. It's important not to mix up the two. Some practical steps to make this happen: take inventory of your life. Use the same piece of paper or notebook and ask yourself these questions. You will be so surprised at how many answers reveal themselves to you when you take the time to sit down and actually ask them. And not only take the time to ask them, but choose to listen to yourself. Write down all of the areas in your life where you are feeling suffering, and then take each area and ask yourself, how much could this suffering lessen if I were to start doing or if I were to stop doing? This entire experience should be us being radically honest with ourselves, because we will get nowhere if there is any room for us to lie to ourselves or make any further excuses on our own behalf. This is the reason why we're in hell in the first place. Something that helps me out nowadays is understanding that if you're in a hole, stop digging. Lying to yourself would be digging a deeper hole. Step 3, this one is going to sting, but the question needs to be asked: are you an empath, or do you just have weak boundaries and standards for your life? Here's some tips that will help you out. Next time someone asks you for help, instead of immediately jumping in to be their savior, take a step back and ask yourself a few questions to make sure that you're doing it for the right reason. Have I helped this person before, and what was the result? More importantly, by helping this person with this, am I taking something away from myself, something valuable? This is not to say don't help people, worry about yourself, be selfish. No. A perfect example of this is if you let somebody borrow money, but you are drowning in debt. You are not in the position to help them in that way at this time. And that's hard for us to say. Another example, someone needs a ride to their appointment. This would cause you to miss your own doctor's appointment that you had to book 8 weeks in advance. You can't pour from an empty cup, and eventually you will pay the tax for trying to. Never loan anything to somebody that you're going to need right back. This creates unnecessary suffering and friction. If you're loaning money, do it with the mindset that, hey, you might not get this money back. If that's not something that you can handle financially, you should probably be thinking twice about it. Next question, and this is a big one that I constantly struggle with. Am I involving myself with this person to distract myself from doing something truly important for my own life? Oof. Do I even know this person? Way too often, we are out here setting ourselves on fire to keep people warm that we don't even know. Stop doing that. Another question, am I enabling a bad habit? Why are they in this pickle in the first place? This is not to say do not help people. There are people out there who truly do need help. But it's also very important to understand that not everybody who is at the bottom or everybody who is struggling has a desire to not be there. Not everybody who asks for help is someone who's actually trying to make their life better. Maybe they're at the bottom because that's where they want to be. This is something that's extremely hard to accept, but you have to understand that misery does love company. And sometimes someone has made the conscious choice to say, I'm not going to try. And that's not to say that they don't have good reasons, but once they've made that decision, you have to be very, very careful or you'll be dragged to the bottom too. Pay attention. Don't be a doormat. Step 4, words equal belief equal habits equals actions. You have to pay attention to the things that you say. And this has 2 parts. Paying attention to how you talk about yourself, then also paying attention to how you talk about the past and things that have happened to you. My boss and I had a disagreement is very different than my boss hates me. They may very well hate you for sure, but that speech and mindset put the focus of control into your boss's hands. It's saying my life would be better if my boss didn't hate me, which I guess is fair, but you don't have the power to control your boss. It says my entire experience is dictated by my boss's attitude. If your boss has a bad morning, way too much of your power is being given away to a person outside of yourself. And you're not thinking of possible solutions and benefit your situation. But Deja, I can't just find a new job. It may be hard for you to find a new job, but it is that simple. If you feel that much in misery and someone is making your life that miserable, get a new job. Our victim mentality can be strengthened by a lack of exposure and a lack of imagination. And honestly, that might have worked in previous generations, but it doesn't really fly as much now. We have so much information around us every single day, so many gifts in terms of knowledge that were once kept away from the masses that were only allowed to be distributed to a select few of the majority. With the age of the internet, your misery is no longer your boss's fault. At this point, a lot of it is your choice. If your life is becoming unhappy because of work, instead of being upset about it, going home, kicking your dog, being mean to your husband, snapping at a cashier, I'm talking to you, Karens. Going to the bar to relieve stress, even though you know you end up more stressed out and anxious as a result of those things. If you're doing stuff like that, maybe instead enhance your skills. Look to other roles within your company. Take a course, make a plan for your exit. It might not happen overnight, but don't be so quick to sell yourself out for instant gratification. So much of unnecessary suffering comes in from selling ourselves out for instant gratification. If it takes you a year to depart the organization that you don't want to be in, then it takes a year. And if you sit and bide your time and just blame your boss, a year from now, you'll wish you had started a year ago. You might have to play the long game to get out of a situation, but you can get out. The only box is the one that you are putting yourself in. This also goes the same for where you live, where you hang out, who your friends are, honestly, who your family is. I know a lot of us think that you have to have this allegiance to your family, but you really don't. If you don't want to, you can go and have a new family. You can start your own traditions. You can start your own way of living and being. You have to expand what your reality could look like. Hate America? Okay. Find out what you have to do to leave the country. Research expat communities. Make a plan. Start budgeting. Don't have any money? Work on a budget. Work on saving. Sell things. Work, invest, leave. Don't have any time? Do an inventory of where your time is going right now. Is it all being used in the best way? Again, be honest. Be honest. Step 5, Inward first, then outward. When you are suffering unnecessarily and things aren't going your way, look inward first and then out. Ask yourself questions. How have I shown up? How have I contributed to this situation? Again, this is not victim shaming or blaming. I'm not talking about victims of crimes, which should go without saying, but again, that's not what I'm talking about. Outside of those circumstances, think back to the last big incident, disagreement that you had, or a time where you feel like someone wronged you. Is there anything that you feel you could have done differently? Not to change the outcome, but to feel better about your overall contribution into the experience. How you showed up at the beginning, how you showed up during, how you showed up afterwards. Did you display the full extent of your capability, or did you phone it in? If someone gave you hard feedback, look for the grain of truth in that feedback. What are some things that you could be working on? If it's a relationship that has gone bad, this is gonna suck a little bit, but what might have been some things that you overlooked at the beginning just because you wanted to be in a relationship? What are some things that you might not have paid attention to that you should have paid attention to? What are some things that you purposefully ignored that called out red flags to you or called out a problem and you tried to convince yourself that it wasn't? What is your contribution to this experience? In first, then out. Step 6, let go of old wounds. Forgive other people, not for other people, but for you. Holding on to pain and the hurt that someone inflicted onto you is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to die. It only hurts you. If you can't stop thinking about the wrongs or the bad things that have happened to you, write them down, put them onto paper. Practical steps for this is start at the beginning of your life, from 1 to 5, from 5 to 10, from 10 to 15. From 15 to 20, and so on and so forth. Wherever you are, go through and think about what are the most vivid memories from that time frame. Wrongdoings, great things that happened to you, moments that you felt loved, moments that you didn't feel loved. For each time frame, write them down, get them out. Write how they made you feel. Write what you took from that experience. Write how those feelings that you felt during that time show up in your current life. Did you feel unsafe at this point? How does that unsafeness show up today? How does that particular interaction with this particular person show up in your interactions with people today? You have to get them out onto paper so that you can stop ruminating on them. If something keeps coming up and keeps cycling around, your brain is asking you to do something with this information. And when you don't write it down and process it, it just keeps looping back around. So you ever met those people who seem to keep telling the same stories over and over about the bad things that happened to them, about how this person did this to them and they ruined their entire life? That's because they can't process it. They haven't processed it to move past it, so they keep bringing it up. Get it out onto paper. There is no excuse whatsoever for terrible behavior, but it is true that most people are doing the absolute best that they can with the tools that they have. That is not to say they didn't have the capability to get more tools. If someone has a toolbox and it has certain tools in it and you're like, build this house, they built that house with the tools that they had in their toolbox. Some people have way more tools and you're able to get something that looks way more close like a house. Doesn't mean they can't go to the store and buy more tools, but a lot of people are doing the best of the tools that they have. Be grateful that you have more tools. Be grateful that you have a video that you can watch right now that is telling you, hey, this is how we get out of this mindset. A lot of people don't have that or didn't have it in the past. You hate your parents? Okay, understandable. Parents suck sometimes. How did their parents treat them? What if that person that you think owes you something isn't capable of providing what you need because it wasn't provided to them? That's not to say that it's an excuse or justification or anything like that. I know people who have been abused as children and are amazing parents because of it. But it goes both ways. Hurt people hurt people. Sometimes people aren't actively choosing to hurt you. They don't have the tools necessary to produce any other outcome at this time. Doesn't mean that that's forever. People can change, but you can't sit around waiting for people to change and give you what you feel like you need from them. Not an excuse, but it is true and it has to be accepted. Abuse does not have to be accepted, but truth has to be accepted. Accepting that you can only control yourself, which means that you only have the power to change yourself, means that brewing hate and holding grudges only steals time for you. It wastes so much of your time. It doesn't waste the other person's time. it wastes your time. Offer some gratitude to yourself for having additional tools, for having the ability to change, to be able to say, hey, I want something different than this entire experience. Offer yourself some gratitude. Forgive, not forget. Forgive. So you can move into your future without the luggage of the past traveling with you, and so that you can meet new people and appreciate them, and you're not bleeding all over people who didn't cut you. My friend Jordan gave me a really great exercise, and I'm going to share it with you because I think that it's super powerful. She said, picture the person that you feel wronged you, and picture them standing in front of you, and you have a tether, a connection from your belly button to their belly button. And you look them in their eyes and you say to them, I'm sorry, I forgive you, I love you, and thank you. And you hug them, and you take a step back and you cut the tether that's tying you together. And your tether goes back into your belly button, their tether goes back into their belly button, and you let go. Forgiveness is for you, not for the other person. Step 7, stop selling yourself out with limiting beliefs and choose yourself. The best way to do this is to spend time with yourself. Spend time asking yourself the important questions. What do you believe? What do you value? What type of life do you want to have? Again, our vision. If you value loyalty, but you spend all of your time with liars and thieves, can you really be mad at anyone else when you are stolen from or lied to? Let go of limiting beliefs about yourself. I can't stress this enough. You have to let go of limiting beliefs because they are what will cause you to settle. You won't go after what you want because you don't think that you deserve it. And then when you do get things that you want, you won't be able to keep it because you don't think that you deserve it, and you'll self-sabotage it. So next time that you have a limiting belief, I want you to take a step back and I want you to ask yourself, whose voice is that? Where did it come from? When did I start hearing this voice? Because we all start out as babies, okay? We start out as babies with a world full of potential, and then we become children and we're bursting at the seams with possibility. And then there's a point in time where we start to hear a voice that says no. Whose voice is that? Where did it come from? When did it start? And then listen to the things that that voice says. Do you actually believe those things? Once you start asking yourself these questions, you'll eventually maybe start to realize that everyone around you, or that you tend to surround yourself with people who don't really want the best for you because you don't think that you deserve better. And then every time they disappoint you, you get hurt. And then you start to become angry because you find yourself going out of your way for people and then they don't do the same for you. Or you find yourself choosing people and then getting upset when they don't choose you. But you really can't be mad. Straight up, you don't even choose you. How can you be mad when someone else doesn't choose you and you don't choose yourself? They're following your lead. You set the standard for how people treat you. If that happens enough times, you'll become jaded. And the last thing you want is to become jaded. But Deja, how would I know if I'm jaded? The best way to know if you're jaded is to pay attention to the things that you say. If you have ever uttered the sentence, all men are this, or all women are this, or all these are this, anytime you put all in front of something and there's no way, it's actually physically impossible that you've met all people, you are jaded. But chances are, if we took a step back and looked at all of the people that you've interacted with who have hurt you in some way, shape, or form in your adult life, I'm not talking about the people who were put in your life as a child, which you technically did not have as much control over, but as a fully grown adult, let's talk about the people that you choose to consciously bring into your life. And we look at the ones specifically who you say, or you find yourself ruminating over, who you say has betrayed you, who have hurt you in this very vital way. Take a step back and see if you can find a commonality between them. Their backgrounds, how you met, what you originally bonded over, what they represent to you. Did you bond over mutual values and belief systems, or did you bond over trauma? Did you bond over pain? What did you bond over? It's a very hard pill to swallow that it's not all people. It's all people you attract. So if you find yourself having a bad run of people, it might be time to say, what is it about me that is attracting this type of person? What is going on with me? Either in how you met, what you bonded over. Maybe they were in the gutter and you thought that it was going to be you who saved them from the gutter. And you did this without even asking how they got in the gutter in the first place. Or if they even want to be out of the gutter. You thought that you were going to save them, and somehow you have found yourself in the gutter right next to them. You have to start doing this work like yesterday, because what will happen is you will meet someone great. They will quickly make it so that you are not in their life anymore, or you will quickly start to see that you are the red flag. And it's better to find that out on your own and work through it than find it out when you meet someone who's good for you. That might be because healthy people don't really dance with unhealthy people. And it's hard to find out that you might be the toxic one when you move into healthier spaces because you've been kicking it with unhealthy people for so long. When you sit in shit long enough, it stops smelling. Pay attention. Finally, we are in the home stretch. We have reached step 8, which is understanding that time is not on our side. You have to really truly process that we are here for such a short amount of time in the grand scheme of things. We are here for a blip. And I know that it's a scary thought. Life is too short to spend it with people, places, things, situations that are making us miserable. Because at any point in time, your life could end. At any point in time. No one is coming to save you. No one is coming to swoop you out of your life and put you into someone else's or put you in this perfect one. No one is coming. No one is coming to take the reins. It has to be you. If you want a different life, you have to build it. You have to take responsibility for the people that you are choosing to keep in your life. You have to ask yourself, why are you keeping them? Are you getting something out of it also? We have like this bottom layer of things that we are getting out of situations. We could say that this person is mistreating me. Oh, my ex is such a piece of crap. He mistreats me. What if we like engaging ourselves, or subconsciously we're engaging with this person because that's easier than doing the hard thing, which is being truly vulnerable. It's easier for us to spend time or waste time with this person who cannot meet our needs, and for me to be upset about not having my needs met. It's way scarier to actually put yourself out there for someone who's emotionally available, physically available, and say, hey, I'm here, I want you, and I want this, and then to be rejected, or for you to mess it up. That's hard. So maybe we're engaging with this situation because we're afraid of the real thing. So we like to play in Neverland with Peter Pan, because that's so much easier than actually growing up. Because what if we grow up and we fail? What if we put our best foot forward and it's not enough? What if we do all of the things and then we end up getting married to a partner that we thought that we knew and something tragic happens? What then? That's true vulnerability versus us staying in this cyclical nightmare that we've seen the beginning, the middle, and the end to thousands of times. We keep watching the same movie. Once you really dig into why you might be engaging with people who aren't good for you, only then can you start to choose people for the right reasons. Shared mutual interests, respect, goals, support, values. Then you don't have to scrape the bottom of the barrel for the wrong thing. Familiarity, comfort, trauma bond, ease, lack of options. Something that was really important for me to understand, just someone coming from a traumatic background. If something feels so comfortable, go in the opposite direction. When you come from trauma, as much as it hurts to acknowledge, your home is in trauma. You put your hand on the stove and you stop saying ouch. That's it. You don't even get burned anymore. And you have to ask yourself, at what point did I start to feel this pain and I stopped saying ouch? If you meet somebody and they do something that should be ouch worthy, but you're not saying ouch, run. Go into the opposite direction, because that's comfort. And if you're coming from a place that has you victimized, maybe comfort isn't where we should be. Don't be afraid to ask yourself, what am I doing to get into my own way that is wasting my finite amount of time? The time that I already don't have, what is doing that is getting in the way of that? If you were having the same conversation with yourself about breaking up with your partner, about getting married to your partner, that you were this time last year, there's something that we are doing, there's a blockage there. You really have to focus on thinking, what does better look like for my unique individual situation? What's one thing that I can do today to get me closer to my original vision or get me further from my hell vision? And how much time do I have? If you find yourself in a position where you're having the same conversation with yourself as this time last year, perhaps you are asking too many closed questions and not enough open questions. Closed questions are things that shut doors, or they're not able to give you a satisfying answer. Things like, Why are they treating me this way? Why can't this just be this way? Why can't they just treat me the way that I treat them? Why can't? I should have. I should be. I expect this. These are all entitlement statements, and they are all rooted in ego. And the cold, hard truth of the matter is you are entitled to nothing. Not money, not respect, not a promotion, not loyalty, nothing. You are entitled to nothing. You're not even entitled to time, which is why it's so important that you are aware of it. Instead, spend the time learning to respect yourself, determining what you want in your life, and choose to promote things that lead to you living the life that you want, instead of demanding them from people and places that can't meet your needs. Instead of throwing tantrums, instead of giving up on yourself, instead of holding so tightly to an idea of what is supposed to be, who you were supposed to be with, what was supposed to work, how things are supposed to look, you accept truth and you let go. And you process that you are running out of time. And then once you do that, you can choose what's best for you. Letting go of an idea that you are entitled to an outcome, processing that you do not have as much time as you think, and focusing on the next right move is what will set you free. Be the heroine of your life, not the victim. Hope this helps, peeps. Class dismissed. Go out and do.